Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
It's a glorious day. How are you, Conrad? And happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you. Excited to be here with you for another fun edition of What Happened When. And today, we're going to be doing something super fun.
Super fun.
We're going to be watching the only Royal Rumble you were involved with. Can you believe that was like almost 34 years ago? Where does the time go?
It goes quickly. The next thing you know, I'm going to be in my 80s. If I live that long, decrepit, and I'll be doing a podcast with you or an extended member of your family. And I'll be going, I remember back and I hate everybody and that type of shit.
Can you believe, time is a funny thing. I get made fun of on social media for saying that all the time, but I just think about 1990 to now, 34 years, think 34 years prior to 1990. Imagine if you and the guys gathered around the back and threw in a VHS. We're going to watch a match from 1956 right fast. It would be like, what? It feels like it's from another world. You know what I mean? And here we are, man. You blink and all of a sudden you've been in the business 40 years, Tony. How about it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time. It really has. And when I think about this show, I think about the fact that, well, I've told the story many times about how I became the play-by-play guy for the show. But also I think about this. It wasn't too long after this where WCW contacted me. And then I made the jump back to WCW. Which many levels was a mistake, big mistake. At the time, it was a gigantic mistake. But as time rolls on, we're talking about time here, it became, look, I love my house, love my dogs. We've raised all our kids here in Georgia. So living here in Georgia has been really, really good to me on many levels. Got to work with the Bulldogs, got to do some radio with the Braves that I wouldn't have gotten had I stayed with the WWE. And then who knows with the WWE, how long I would have stayed after that, because I could have been fired. Like I would have been had I taken that job 5 years ago. I would have been fired almost immediately.
You really believe that?
There's no question. There's no question in my mind that Vince wanted me to come there to fire me. So yeah, I believe that. And,
I'm just curious. Why do you think Vince wanted to hire you just to fire you? I'm not trying to be funny.
He wanted to hire me, and I feel bad about Bruce because Bruce is in the middle of this, and Bruce is a friend of mine. And I believe anything that Bruce tells me is legit and sincere. Vince wanted to hire me to keep me away from this upstart company, AEW. And then COVID happened.
Right.
And they cut back. And why not cut back on one of the newest guys that just arrived? So there's no question I would have been let go. Anyway, that's another story. But who knows how long I would have stayed with the WWE had I stayed in 1990. And it just so happened in 1990, I left. I moved to Georgia, moved into this house. I've been here ever since. The house has changed a great deal. This is my studio above the garage now. So a lot has happened, a lot good, we've struggled at times, but it's been a good ride. It's been a good 40 years. It really has. And this is a great time for me. I'm really fortunate on many levels. First of all, to be able to be back in wrestling, to be able to connect with a lot of great people in wrestling. Again, a lot of youngsters that I've never would have worked with, that I have a chance to work with, not only as an announcer, but as a member of talent relations backstage. So this is a good time. It really is. And I'm very fortunate. And who knew that Sting and Ric Flair would come back to my life, huh?
I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card. And, 1990 is such a weird year too. We're going to be watching part of Royal Rumble 1990, but when you go back to WCW, you come in and one of the big angles is Sting as the world champion. Of course, he's going to win the world title that year and then start a feud with the Black Scorpion. This mystery man who's chasing the champ. And it's like,
Yeah.
Sting and Ric Flair back together again. And there's a mystery man feuding with the champ. Man, what's old is new again in professional wrestling. And it's fun to notice, the cycles and the ebbs and flows of the business. And of course, history repeats itself, as they say. And that's what's great about wrestling is I think there's so many fun moments around the corner that we can hope to relive, but lots of stuff we would have never guessed. Like A, Tony Schiavone being back in wrestling, B, Ric Flair and Sting being on TBS and TNT again. Like it's crazy stuff. It's something nobody could have predicted just a handful of years ago.
I know. And I think back to this year. Now, this was the first part of the year, 1990. 1990 was a very trying year for me. Because of the move, it's not easy to move 5 kids and a couple of pets back to the Metro Atlanta area. So that was tough. And the kids were young back then, very young. So it was very tough moving them again. I went from a very organized, very great place to work to a horrible place to work with a boss who didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Ole Anderson was the booker. We had this idea for the Black Scorpion, and it was one of the most convoluted ideas that you will ever find backstage because they had no idea who the Black Scorpion would be. There was going to be Al Perez, and Al Perez didn't want to be the Black Scorpion. Then it was going to be this guy. No, that wouldn't work, and Jim Herd didn't want that to work, and it's going to be this person, and I'm thinking during 1990 that I've made the biggest mistake of my life, that my career is freaking over. Because this place I really expected, they're going to, as the old saying goes, the sheriff's going to put a lock on the door and they're going to shut us down because we're fucked. And after going around and who's going to be the Black Scorpion? No, not him. Maybe he'll be the Black Scorpion. No, not him. Flair finally said, fuck it, I'll be it. And that's why Flair became the Black Scorpion. And when he took the robe off, when he walked out, he fooled no one. And you know why he fooled no one? Because of that freaking honker of a nose sticking through the mask. As soon as he took the robe off, people in St. Louis were going, woo! So
the honker,
Black Scorpion.
Your old great close personal friend Arn Anderson used to have a nickname for Flair that referenced the honker. Tell everybody what that was.
Yeah, Beak.
Isn't that a great
That's what
nickname?
he called him, Beak. I mean, he called him that all the time. Instead of Rick or Flair, he called him Beak.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yes.
Speaking of amazing, we had a couple of amazing Monday Night Football games this past week. We had not one, but 2 games. They both came down to the very end. And I was having a lot of fun because I was playing with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America. They really are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS, and it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and then just watch the winnings roll in. And with basketball season here, now you can even pick combo projections across both football and basketball from the Specials League. This is a league created specifically for these combo projections, so you've got 2 or more players from different sports or leagues. Like you could have LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3 points made and receptions. So how about that? This is a super fun thing that I don't think I've ever seen before with anybody else. And I really like it because it's just you against the numbers. I don't have to worry about, can I beat this guy or that guy? And you can even see what some of your favorite influencers, whether it's a comedian like Andrew Schultz or a rapper like Meek Mill, everybody is playing Prize Picks. You just click on that community plays tab and bam, you see exactly what's going on. You can't go ahead and worry about syncing it either. Let me explain this reboot policy. This is super exciting. Never heard of anybody doing this. If one of your players gets injured, like in a basketball game or a football game, they exit the game in the first half. They're not going to be there in the second half. The player's rebooted. As far as I know, Prize Picks is like the only DFS platform with that injury insurance policy. And you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. They've even got an offer every Tuesday called Taco Tuesday, where they actually discount the projections by 25%, give you even more value. They've got quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and oh, by the way, they even take Apple Pay now. They make it super easy and it's super fun. I had a lot of fun this last Monday night. I think you will too. You got to try it. Go right now to prizepicks.com/WHW and use the code WHW for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/WHW and use the code WHW for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. So Tony, I got to be honest with you. We've got a little special surprise lined up for you today. We're not just, nobody's doing a running.
I got 3 dogs here.
What?
That's a surprise.
Okay, let's talk about that. So we got Kirby.
Yeah.
We got Bug.
And there's right here, there's Scout. Scout was spayed yesterday, so she's got that collar on.
Scout's kind of the jobber of the family, right?
No. The jobber of the family is Kirby.
Well, we saw it, all the Kirbys go down to Saban. We know that. Well, why don't you name that dog Saban? Get a real winner in there.
I see what's going on.
What's happening?
Kirby is chewing on her little thing she gets in the morning, which is like a toothbrush thing or like clean her teeth.
Okay.
And Scout, who is not the jobber, is stalking her because she steals everybody's treats.
Oh, I see. So she's the bandit of the family.
Oh, she's the worst.
What about Bug? Where's he on this? It looks like he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit until they get into their face. Now, what we've done here at the Bug is I've got an electric blanket right here for Bug. So
is the blanket plugged in?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Bug is sitting in an electric blanket right now as we record this podcast.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
And see how he's turned looking at him? He does not want. And look at, she's trying to steal. Boy, she is. This little girl is something.
Do you have a harness?
She'll probably just, what's that?
Do you have a harness for Bug? Like in that movie, The Hangover, where Alan put the baby on him. I mean, can you carry?
Oh,
Bug
no, I don't
around
have
your
that.
Bug?
I have a harness that goes around him that we
Walking.
hook into it. No, walking and hooking into when we ride around.
Oh, okay.
Seatbelt. Yeah.
So why don't you have like the walking around harness? I think I would love to see you walking around admonishing people backstage at AEW with a dog hanging on your chest.
Well, we do have one, but Bug is, it's really not good for Bug. We tried we're looking for a sling. I've seen people carry their dog in a sling.
Yes.
Looking for that to carry him around. There goes Kirby.
Can you imagine the shit you would get if you showed up to TV with Bug on a harness?
Yeah. I get shit at TV anyway, so I don't care.
I'm just saying Taz would have a field day with that.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine? Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, Tony, I was going to say, we're not just randomly watching Royal Rumble 1990. We thought, hey, you know what? Let's celebrate 40 years of Schiavone in style, and let's do something we don't normally do. Let's bring in a special guest, and our special guest is actually the reason we picked Royal Rumble 1990, or actually our special guest picked it. This show was a magical time in my fandom, my peak fandom. My favorite WrestleMania was WrestleMania 6, and the way we got there, of course, and a lot of that course was charted at Royal Rumble 1990. And I have a feeling that our guest maybe felt the same way, because this was the show that he picked. It is indeed Daddy Magic joining the program. What's up, dude? How are you?
What's going on, guys? 40 years of Schiavone. Congratulations.
Matt Mernard, as I live and breathe.
That's right.
Wow.
Conrad, you nailed it. That's exactly why I wanted to watch the Rumble 90. It was also, I feel like Tony, you probably remember that day pretty well, right?
Yeah, I sure did.
Compared to like a random Nitro or something.
Yeah, or compared to last week. Where I don't remember shit from week to week.
What's that? You don't like Montreal? You got a problem?
No. I really have to. Well, yeah. Man, I don't know. I guess it's
a blur, isn't it?
Because we do so many events. When I go back the week before, I have to go back to calendar and remind myself where we were.
Of course.
I do. I mean, I know we were in Montreal, but were we in Montreal last week? I know we've been in Pittsburgh, and how many weeks ago was that? And it's just,
Oh yeah, especially with the 2 TVs a week.
It's just a lot of stuff. It really is.
Absolutely.
Really is.
So, Tony, I'm curious. I think I've heard a few different versions of this story about Royal Rumble 1990. You weren't originally supposed to call this show, right?
No, I was not. And I know what Bruce has said, and I get it. Bruce doesn't remember it as well as I do because it happened to me.
Right.
Here's the original story. We were, obviously it was Orlando, and Vince had gone down to Boca with his family and his friends. I guess they had a boat down in Boca, probably still do, or a house down in Boca. And they just enjoyed the weekend. And so Sunday happened, and we were supposed to have a noon meeting around noon, and it didn't happen because Vince wasn't there yet. And he got there around 2:00. And I remember we were all sitting there waiting for him on the meeting, and he walked in, and he was obviously, I'm not going to say hungover, but he was bushed.
Okay.
Put it that way. He had had a big weekend, right? And he was tired, and I remember him sitting down, and he went, oh, man, I'm not ready to do this show. He looked at me, he said, young man, did you bring your tux? I went, yes, sir. He said, good, you're doing the play-by-play.
How about that?
And that's how I found out I was doing the show that day, because it was going to be he and Jesse. Gorilla and Jesse had done Survivor Series. I had done SummerSlam. And after I'd done SummerSlam in '89, apparently he didn't like my commentary. So he put Gorilla in there with Jesse for Survivor Series, and he was going to do the Royal Rumble. So I was kind of on the outs as a play-by-play guy at that time, but I was. And so Vince was tired and he didn't want to do it, and I did the show.
That really makes perfect sense.
Right? From a show prep standpoint, what would you have done had you known ahead of time you were going to be doing the show? Or was it better that you didn't know so you didn't get in your head and over prepare?
Yeah, I think it's better that I didn't know. I really think Excalibur's kind of changed the game a little bit for play-by-play guys, because he is so prepared and he knows so much that you as a play-by-play guy, and I feel like this when I'm doing Collision, that I have to be more prepared than I've ever been, just because he has set the standard so high. And prior to that, there wasn't much preparation needed to do. I mean, if you knew the angles, right? If you knew where you were going with this, then you didn't have to talk about the past. I mean, we didn't talk that much about back in the day about, wait a minute, I got a dog fucking around here. Hang on. Okay, they're starting to play. You'll hear Lois. You're going to hear Lois scream in a minute. Goddamn, Scotty. Okay. I've always wondered how much preparation a play-by-play guy, if you know the angles, has to do.
Right.
Because you're just calling wrestling, and if you know the angles, you know where you're going, and you've got a good producer in your ear, and Mike Mansouri is the best producer I've ever worked with.
Wow, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. By far. I just wonder how much prep you really need to do. I mean, I know how to call wrestling. I know where the angles are. I know where we're going. Mm-hmm. I know what the end result is on pay-per-views as far as where we're going on pay-per-views. So how much do I need to know, right? So I don't know back then if I would have prepped any more than I would have anyway. So.
Well, I'm super excited for us to watch this. It's one of my favorite Royal Rumbles. I think 1990 is 1989 and 1990 are probably my two favorite years, along with 1997. Just peak fandom for me. And as a kid, the idea that my two favorites, I mean, my wrestling existence before this Daddy Magic was, good guys versus bad guys. And
that's what it is.
And so I was so used to Hulk Hogan slaying the big dragon, and he's going to take care of Kamala, or he's going to take care of Earthquake, or whatever that came his way. But good guy versus good guy, this made my 9-year-old brain melt. What made this
absolutely mind blowing? The up and coming like Warrior was so cool, right? Like as a child,
Yes.
Couldn't get enough of the guy. And then he's almost like he's so different from Hogan, you know? And man, when they meet up in this match, it is absolutely electric.
It's going to be a fun time. I can't wait for us to watch it. I'm ready for us to fire it up. But before we do, I need to tell you that I'm so excited to watch this one that I didn't even need BlueChew today. But if I did, I'd know where to get the hookup. It's BlueChew.com. If you haven't been listening to this show, what are you waiting for? Try it right now. It's a unique online service that will deliver you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. And the process is super simple. You sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with their licensed medical providers, and then once you're approved, man, you get your prescription within a few days. And the best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And the tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. But there won't be anything discreet about your package. BlueChew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. It might work so well, people around your house might be calling you Daddy Magic. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try BlueChew free when you use our promo code WHW at checkout. Just be sure to pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is WHW. And you get your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring today's podcast and Tony's Wiener. So without further ado, we're ready, man. Royal Rumble 1990 coming your way. You know, before we click play, Tony, do you remember where this went down? Do you remember the building and the town?
Yeah, it was Orlando, Florida. It's where the Magic played back then. I don't know what it was called. I think it was called the O Arena back then, maybe. And it became the Amway Arena, I think after that.
Yes, I think it's still called the Amway Arena. But what's interesting to me is how important that building is for you. Like, it's not only your first and only Royal Rumble, but that's the building where Hogan Flair finally happened at Bash at the Beach 94. Like the most successful WCW pay-per-view of all time up to that point, both in the same building. So this building has a lot of success with you in it.
Yeah, it does. And that building's not there anymore, is it? Didn't they?
I think it's a new one.
A new one, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a very nice building.
Boys, I have a question, though. I got to touch on this. Al Perez didn't want to be the Black Scorpion?
No,
was he doing something better?
No, he did not. Isn't that something?
What?
I don't know.
Not to pick on the guy, but.
Talk to Sting about it. Sting was like, Al, what? So
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
I don't want the break of my life.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, you know, he wound up doing some global stuff and some All Japan stuff, and it is interesting to think, like, what's the worst thing that could have happened had he done the Black Scorpion? And we know that, you know, Flair was bulletproof at that point, but what's the worst thing that could have happened from doing that?
If it's a complete failure, you just reset. You know? That's it.
I mean, he wound up resetting anyway.
I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it, boys and girls.
See, Matt Mernard brings the right attitude to wrestling.
Hey, thank you. You can make anything work. You just dive in, figure it out.
Yeah.
Before we get going, I know I've teased this a few times, but Matt, I don't know when we're going to have you again. And you have a saying that you use that we used to hear a lot through the loudspeakers and PAs. And before we would watch a show in 1990, they'd have like a little video intro, and then they'd say they were a legendary leader. And well, you know what I'm looking for here. Yeah. I say, why don't we do a little countdown, Schiavone? We're going to give it the time code here. Silva's going to give us the time code that we're going to share with everybody. And then you'll do the countdown, and then we'll have Matt hit a line that maybe our listeners are familiar with, and we'll watch the Royal Rumble match from 1990. How's that?
Sounds good. You want one of the countdowns from DJ Turnup?
I'm down with that.
All right. Ready?
Ready.
Here it goes. DJ Turnup!
Undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. Because most of the girls that I had hookups with in college did not look like this girl right here. looked more like a combination of Rikishi and Perry Saturn. You can just visualize that for a moment.
Can you, Tony Reed's rap, in a loud and clear voice, say that directly into the microphone just one more time?
Most of the girls that I had to hook up with in college looked like a combination of Rikishi and Perry Saturn. Let that sink in.
The World Wrestling Federation, the recognized symbol of excellence for sports entertainers.
Burks, Skydome, Toronto, and it brings a smile to your face, Jesse.
April 1st, ain't that April Fool's Day?
Yes, last year it was, yes, and I guess the year before.
And this year, too.
It's WrestleMania Day.
It's WrestleMania Day, and I ain't no fool. I know where I'll be. I'll be Skydoming in Toronto.
That's this is my childhood right here. Incredible.
From some of the 30 participants in the Royal Rumble. Here's what they had to say as we talked to them a little bit earlier today.
It's the Royal Rumble, baby, and we already know our number, and it's right where we want it to be, boys.
That's right, Jimmy, and I hope the Warriors' number is close to mine because I don't want no one to lay a hand on it. I want to take care of you, Warrior. Nobody is safe from the earthquake. Everybody's going out. Nobody is safe from me. You're gonna feel the earthquake. I guarantee it. Lady Luck's already on our side. You know, last year we had to choose number 1 and number 2, and we ended up.
And that means we took a heck of a beating last year. I know how hard you can hit.
And I know how hard you can hit. But this year it's gonna be a little bit different. Because we know where our numbers are, and we've got an opportunity to beat up on everybody else.
And that means 28 of the baddest dudes out there, all up for themselves. Well, just remember, we got us too.
Hey, wait a minute. It comes down to 2 men, me against you.
You know, I might kick your stick
kick
on
you
you,
in.
man.
I hope you're being Billy.
Tony, when were you guys doing these promos? Was this the day of or the night before, or do you recall?
Day of.
Who all would have been producing these with you guys?
Jack Lanza. Let's see.
Oh, we got to listen to this one. Here we go.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah, you proved yourself today, Daddy. You did, baby. And now I'm going to prove myself. I don't care if you're in there when I get there. I don't care if I got to be there all day long. I'm going to be there until I prove myself, baby. Because the Rumble going to see you get your dues, Randy Savage. Come in here, darling. What are we going to do today?
We're going to get you, Randy Savage,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Today's the day. The Royal Rumble.
Oh, my God.
You know, sometimes days like this, we get so excited.
Well, listen to Marty. I can tell you got excited. You saw Marty and you got excited.
Everybody get ready because the Rockers are coming at you. That's right. Don't matter who it is. Powers of Pain, I hope we get our hands on you. But it doesn't matter. Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan, the Rockers are coming and we're going to rock and roll, strut and stroll, and we're going to take care of business. That's right. Get ready, everybody. The Rockers are coming at you Royal Rumble style, high flying as ever.
Yeah.
Woo!
The time is at
So,
hand.
Lanza is producing these. Who else do you think's involved in that? Like, just walk me through how long would this have taken to put together this many little vignettes like this?
It wouldn't have taken long because we were pretty organized. We had people run, and they had like 3 backstage places where they did pre-tapes. One was called In-Show, one was called English, and one was called International. We did it. And when Jack Lanza ran the ones that were in show. Nick Bockwinkel ran one of them. And I'm trying to think who ran the other one.
Who was your favorite agent like that to work with when you were producing stuff like this? Did you have somebody you really liked or somebody you didn't?
It was Jack Lanza.
Hit us with.
I think Jack was everybody's favorite agent. You know,
hit us with a Jack Lanza story.
Jack loved hotels.
What?
You know this story, don't you? Okay.
Yeah, you've told me the story.
He loved hotels, and what he loved about hotels were the ladies who cleaned the rooms. If Jack Lanza didn't have a date that night, he certainly had a date the next morning when the rooms got cleaned. Heenan told me a very, very revealing story about Jack that it's kind of gross. I'm not going to repeat.
Oh, come on.
Well, you can't do that. That's party foul. That's party foul. Wait, we got to listen to Warrior.
That the power of the Ultimate Warrior has spread like a virus amongst the WWF, then let them continue to walk as normal as they seem. But if those 28 normal men want to have special attractions such as Royal Rumble, then you and I as the Warriors, the most powerful force in the WWF, will continue to see it only as another challenge, only as another day of combat. 28 of those normal men, stacked one on top of another, can't come close to the feelings and the destinations from parts unknown. You realize, as I do, that the 29th man, you, Hulk Hogan, walk with a different force field around you. Walk on horizons that are close to where I've been. But no one in the Royal Rumble shall form a team. Every man shall fight for what he feels is in himself. And I, the Ultimate Warrior, will fulfill another destiny.
What did he say?
Jesse the Body Ventura, we've heard from many of the participants in the Royal Rumble.
Look at that handsome devil.
Very confident going into the Royal Rumble, but I would think just right now the butterflies are starting to mount.
Absolutely. Every man has to have tremendous amount of confidence, but as I said before, there'll be only one winner. Confidence isn't going to win it for you out there alone. It's also the luck of the draw.
The luck of the draw. We already know the $1 Million Man is drawn number 1. Mr. Perfect has drawn number 30, the perfect draw for him. We have some more comments from other participants in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble, yeah. And the Macho King Randy Savage styling, yeah. And I realize that the American Dream Dusty Rhodes would like to get even, but it can't be possible because I'm concentrating on all the superstars in the World Wrestling Federation, which I am number 1. And what a great place to prove that. In the Royal Rumble, royalty, the Macho King Randy Savage, is the one person that nobody should bet against because you'll all go broke. Yeah, I am the winner of the Royal Rumble. And I told everybody before it happened to watch the Macho King. Watch me, Hulk Hogan. Watch me, Andre the Giant, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, and all of ya. The World Wrestling Federation has one man that is royalty, and that is the Macho King Randy Savage. Ooh, yeah!
That's how you do a promo.
Buddy, what a masterclass that was.
They just don't make them like they used to, huh?
That's right.
Come on. Not enough yelling in wrestling anymore. I say it all the time. Not enough. You know, when I worked for the other guys, they would say, why are you yelling at me? And I would always think like, I don't know, because it's wrestling.
Yes. Yes. You know? Here's a guy who didn't yell, though. Let's listen to this one.
You're going to send somebody to that ring, a fresh man. So you're thinking to yourself, well, what number might be the best? Well, the last number would be the best. But that doesn't really mean anything because there's still going to be a lot of hungry men out there. And hopefully I'll be one of those hungry men. The man that wins this match is not going to be the man that is the best wrestler, the best athlete. It's going to be the man that will do anything. The man that will take that extra step. Do just a little bit more than anybody else. Maybe sacrifice a little bit more than anybody else. Now me, that sounds just a lot like me.
Yeah. Hey, man, Royal Rumble, baby. You got one man hitting that ring every 2 minutes. It's really a nasty affair. Bodies are going everywhere. Up there, down this way, everywhere. Through your legs, everywhere.
Take it easy, Jackie. Don't get worked up. Mellow out. In this Royal Rumble, one-on-one, survival of the fittest. But the pink and black attack is back, and we're ready to go the distance in the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Who told Jim the hat was a good
This is
idea?
it, baby. The chance we've been waiting on. A chance for you to play.
Matt, who are some of your favorites besides the Warrior in this era?
I mean, everyone we're watching right now.
Yeah.
Right? Everything's a home run here.
You even like the Honky Tonk Man?
Oh, you gotta love the Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, no one
like,
liked the Honky Tonk.
Like looking back, look at this guy.
Yeah.
I always said, I think Cole Cabana says it too. If I could just have a Honky Tonk Man run, like a good 2-3 years, and then just live off the gimmick for the rest of life.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of on to something there. That's pretty smart.
So when I we got
to listen to Hulkster.
Hulkamaniacs out there. I told you I'd be ready for the Rumble today, man. You know, I got here a little bit early. I seen a lot of the opponents walking up and down the hallways, and they all seem confident. They all seem prepared. But the one thing they don't realize is you got to expect the unexpected. You got to realize with Hulkamania running wild, with Hulkamania at its peak right now, the strongest it's ever been, no matter what type of shape, no matter how prepared you are for the Royal Rumble, the one thing you can't compensate is the power of the pythons with all my Hulkamaniacs behind me. Each and every man for himself. No friends, no enemies. The single goal in the Royal Rumble is to prove what is the strongest force in the WWF. I don't care if it's Dino Bravo, the so-called strongest man in the world. I don't care if it's Hercules. I don't care if it's the Ultimate Warrior. I don't care if it's Mr. Perfect. One by one, I'm going to dig deep down inside, pull that reserve energy out from the training, the prayers, and the vitamins. And once I beat all other 29 opponents, I'm going to show the whole WWF, the whole world, that nobody is more powerful than Hulkamania when it's at its peak. And what you're going to do, WWF, when Hulkamania rumbles all over you.
You know what's wild to me?
The stage is
Nothing's
set.
on the line for this match. There's no stakes.
That's right.
It's
This
just
is
the match.
pre-WrestleMania shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just pride.
Yeah. Two things out of those things that I want to talk about as an announcer and as an adult at that time. I really liked Jim. A lot of people did not like Jim Hellwig at all, and a lot of people did not backstage. He was not the friendliest guy, but he was always really nice to me, and he wasn't overly talkative. We had a good relationship, but I never did get the Ultimate Warrior character. And I didn't get it because what you said, Matt, was like, what did he just say? I mean, his promos were like, what the fuck is he saying? Where was he going?
A lot of
with
the
it?
guys.
Well, yeah, Piper. I mean, Piper would have nonsensical promos, but you love that, Tony. How do you reconcile liking Piper's promos but not Warriors?
I don't know, but I just did. Okay. I can't reconcile that. That was number one. And number two, so when I produced Coliseum videos, I had an assistant. Her name was Leisha Murphy. Leisha was a very good assistant, worked very hard. God bless her. She is no longer with us, passed away in, I think, 2014. She was a hardworking assistant. And every time we would look at a video and we would cut up a video or try to shorten matches for the video, that's what we did a lot. We tried to shorten it. She would say, you need to cut the Honky Tonk Man's match.
What?
She would say, I hate that son of a bitch. I hate that motherfucker. I don't even want to watch him. And I would,
like on a personal level?
No.
The character.
Her character. And when she would say that, I knew he was a good heel.
Yes.
Because if someone who worked for us and was smart to the business still hated his character, he worked. The character worked. So,
awesome.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of people around the wrestling business felt that way about Jeff Jarrett until they meet him.
Yeah.
And it's funny because they both have the guitar in common, but like so many people, when we started the Jarrett podcast, were like, who the hell wants to listen to that? I hate that guy. And then you start listening, you're like, wow, this guy knows a lot about wrestling. He's nothing like his wrestling character. Yeah, duh. That's kind of the idea. He was a bad guy. But I don't know. I just found it interesting that they both have that in common, that people around them, still understand That's what a heel is. And they both have the guitar in common. And we're watching Coco Beware and the $1 Million Man, two crazy iconic characters. I mean, think about how hokey in hindsight, a guy wrestling with dollar signs on his boots. I mean, as a kid, this was the most badass thing of all time, but now it's like, wow, is this Scrooge McDuck, like the wrestler? Like, this is kind of weird. And then the other guy, it's like Demolition Man with a bird, but a badass drop kick. But as a kid, I couldn't get enough of it.
One of the greatest names of all time, Coco Beware.
Yes.
Beware.
When did he get fired? He got fired not long after this, right?
I got in a fight in Europe.
We were in Europe. I was on that trip. As a matter of fact, I was in the bar earlier in the day when Coco Beware later that night got fired because we were in Brussels and we were just drinking during the day. And it was a bar that was owned by someone from the United States, and he loved wrestling. He loved all the boys, so that's where they went. And then afterwards, as the story goes, who was the guy in our office?
Jim Troy.
Jim Troy was drinking with us during the day. And I said we were drinking during the day because Lord Alfred and I were the broadcast team. We didn't have to work Brussels that night. We didn't have to do a broadcast. We went to the show to tape some behind the scenes stuff. And so Jim Troy had been pulling them back all day, and apparently Coco Beware as the story goes, broke a liquor bottle, tried to cut Jim Troy with it, and they're both gone.
Don't they touch on that in Beyond the Mat or one of those documentaries? Conrad, maybe remember that?
Not sure they do. They probably do.
I don't remember that part, but I do remember hearing the story. And you know what? Maybe it was on Dark Side of the Ring or something like that.
That's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, because if we want to know anybody to shit on wrestling, it's the people from Dark Side of the Ring.
All right, boys, I hate to break it up, but we got to take a time out right now to talk about how bad some of these guys had to be feeling. We've mentioned that they were on the road a lot, and I can't imagine the crazy schedule they had, the crazy bumps they had to do, but more importantly, the travel. Man, it just wears you down, and I can't imagine how that is if you're a little dinged up. Well, that's why I recommend The Amazing Kind. The Amazing Kind offers plant-based pain relief balms, creams, and gels for muscles and joints, and infused oils for mood and sleep. Only at theamazingkind.com. Buy now at theamazingkind.com and get 20% off all of your orders with the promo code WRESTLE. Your body will thank you. And I want to mention that the founder of The Amazing Kind used to work in the wrestling business. He was a producer and editor at the WWE, working on commercials and marketing. So he's a wrestling fan just like you and I. And now The Amazing Kind is a family-run business that specializes in these plant-based pain relief balms, creams, and gels. Everything you need. And you also should know it's of the highest possible quality. It's sourced from GMP certified manufacturers, tested for quality and purity to ensure that you're buying exactly what it says on the label. But the topicals, man, I'm such a big fan of these, and I know the guys wish that they had something like this back then. Topical use of CBD products like balms and creams and gels before or after sports or workouts or physical activity will really help with your muscle recovery. It'll help with sore joints and stiff joints and sore muscles and backaches and arthritis, and maybe you've just been on your feet all day. It's time for a little everyday comfort, and The Amazing Kind can help you. These topicals are the real deal. They work with localized pain relief. That's what they can offer you. So what I mean is, you just have this CBD topical from theamazingkind.com and you apply it directly to the area of pain or discomfort. You got a gimmick knee, you got a tricky elbow, you got something going on with your shoulder, you got a sore muscle, maybe you've got a specific skin condition. Well, The Amazing Kind can help. They also have some anti-inflammatory properties because these CBD topicals from The Amazing Kind actually work as a potential anti-inflammatory agent. When you apply it directly to things like arthritis and dermatitis and even general skin irritation, it can help with that too. So it's not just for your muscles and joint, but just your skin. But the muscle recovery that fitness enthusiasts or athletes really need, if you've got some post-workout soreness or maybe you want to reduce some muscle tension, man, this is for you. I think it's sort of good for what ails you, as my grandfather used to say. I've even heard of people with chronic pain conditions like fibromyalgia or neuropathy. They can actually experience some relief with some of these CBD topicals. Not only that, but I work with a lady who really suffers from migraines, and before she found the CBD topicals from The Amazing Kind, man, she was missing like 2 days a month where she just couldn't open her eyes. She needed to be in a dark room. She started using these CBD topicals from theamazingkind.com, and man, she's just feeling a ton better. I'm telling you, this is what you're looking for. And here's the reality. It's going to help you relax. It's going to offer some stress relief. And all you've got to do is rub it right on there. That's it. That's all you got to do. And why not do that and get a great deal? When you go to theamazingkind.com, not only will you find what you're looking for, you can also get 20% off all your orders when you use our promo code WRESTLE. That's theamazingkind.com. Use our promo code WRESTLE. Your body will thank you. Now, let's get back to the program. Well, speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, here's Marty Jannetty moving around like, I mean, at this point, you know, nobody probably would have predicted that Shawn Michaels was going to go on to become what he became. But in my fandom, Matt, as a kid, Shawn was my favorite of the two. Did you have a favorite out of this pair?
Yeah, and it was Shawn. And it's like, why?
Why do we all pick Shawn? Yeah.
Is it because he was like an inch taller? Was that why? Did he look a little younger?
I think we all knew. I think we all knew that Shawn would go on to become maybe the greatest worker in the business, and Marty Jannetty would just go on to become a redneck piece of white trash in Alabama. Okay?
He's not in Alabama. He lives in Georgia.
Okay, I thought all redneck white trash were from Alabama. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, if you want, I'll give his home address here.
No, you've done enough of that with people. Okay.
With Conrad's doxing people?
Just Tony.
No, I still have requests come to my house for autographs, cards, shit like that. Even though it's kind of dried up since I've got my PO box.
People like to say, "Oh, you're," as an insult almost. You're Marty Jannetty of the team or something.
A compliment.
In a given tag team, right? Like, how's that a bad thing? What, I'm gonna have a successful career?
Yes.
Marty was. Look at that. That's a hell of a bump. Marty was a good worker. Look at that. He bumped. He did not land on his feet that time.
No, he slowed himself down a little bit on the top rope, but still, he's just gone. I mean, that's a modern day bump. Tony, let's look at the production here. You can see there's a little darkened area there for the hard cam. But by and large, this is a capacity crowd, and it's lit differently than the way we see wrestling now. And I know now there's more color schemes and things like that, but I don't know, maybe it's because it's what I grew up on, but I really like the look of the red, white, and blue ropes and the way the crowd is lit and all that. When you compare and contrast the way wrestling looked then versus the way it looked now, what did you prefer back then, and what do you think is better now as it's evolved?
Well, I liked back then, and once again, I'm old school, nostalgia. You know, even back in the Jim Crockett era, we didn't light the crowd at all, even though we had sellouts everywhere. But here's what I think about all the lighting schemes today. And I get it. You got to have a show that pops.
Right.
You got to have a show that television executives look at and go, yeah, that's a good looking show. You got to have that and you got to have that for the crowd to show the excitement. But I think and this is probably completely wrong, I don't care, but this is the way I feel. I think if you have a wonderful entrance, colorful big screens, and you have a lit crowd with color schemes, and the ring pops, the fucking wrestling better equal it.
Yeah, it's almost like when it's dressed up too much, I kind of feel like, oh, what are we trying to make up for here?
Right.
That's right. Shitty workers. Right. Exactly. and I feel that I'll say, man, sometimes I think, oh, we've got this lovely set and the crowd looks great. And now they're sitting on their hands and the match really sucks. And sometimes just, I guess to put it in the nutshell, sometimes for me, I'm probably wrong. I've been wrong many, many times. For me, what's important is what happens in the ring, not what's around it. Because a good match is a good match regardless of the lighting scheme.
I
Just
feel
like
when it's
anytime
dressed down a little bit, like
Yeah.
it feels more like a sporting event, and that's what I personally love.
Right. And you know what? I like the entranceway the way it is now. Not now, but the way it was back then with the roll.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, just less is more. Just the logo, and it's dark, and
Yeah.
you know, I liked the old theme entrances that they did in the '90s, where you know, Bash at the Beach had a feel, and Halloween Havoc had a feel. And I understand the technology means we can, you know, switch it up, but I don't know. I guess I'm an old man yelling at clouds now. I like the way it was, and I kind of wish maybe for a one-off here or there, we'd get those red, white, and blue ropes back for a show. I mean, it just takes me back.
Yeah.
We went through a period of time at Dynamite where we had that, right, Tony? Like earlier this year?
Yeah, a period of time. But who knows? I mean, it changes all the time. But, you know, it was great back then. And, you know, talking about the entranceway, here's another thing, too. When we have pay-per-views, we usually have, if you'll recall, on the rampway, has become like a monitor or a big screen as well.
Yes.
With a logo on it. Matt, you probably know as well as anybody else, that's not easy to run down. So when somebody has to do a run-in, it's like they don't want to bust their ass on that.
Oh, running anything on like a slant like that, forget about it.
Right.
If it gets wet too.
Yeah, it's a slick surface, and you've got slick soles on the bottom of your wrestling boots.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody spilled any water in Gorilla, look out.
Well, you know, we do have backstage. Here's a little inside thing. We do have backstage. It's nothing much, but on each side where the guys come out, this sticky pad that they put their feet on to get some stick 'em on.
Get a little traction.
Wait, do we? I have never seen this.
You've never seen this?
Never.
It's on either side, Matt. And when the top part of it gets used up, they peel it off, and there's another layer underneath.
Well, look at that.
It's a gray square. Look for it next time.
Now I'm gonna have to slip everywhere out there.
That's right. Look for it next time.
Like an idiot.
Yeah.
Guys, let's talk about who's in the ring right now. You want to talk about Hall of Famers. Jake the Snake, $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, the Macho King Randy Savage, and Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
I mean,
the fans are going crazy.
If somebody said this was their Mount Rushmore, you couldn't really argue it too much of iconic characters in wrestling. And they just happened to be in the early stages of this Rumble in 1990. What a loaded roster this was.
It's just an all-star game.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Those three Rumbles back to back to back to me are untouchable. 90, 91, 92, just for the people that are in it.
I agree.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I'm noticing the color schemes here. You know, Vince was very, very into we can't have two guys in the ring wearing black. And I guess the WWE is still like that. I'm not so sure we're so much like that now, but there's a girl, huh? Was anybody more animated than Sherry Martel? My God,
the bumps she would take.
Oh, yes. I know.
A psycho.
She was a psycho. She was a psycho. She was a lovable psycho. I've said it many times. She would do some crazy shit in the ring. And then backstage afterwards, she would just be so calm. And she'd go, "Hi, Mr. S. You doing okay?" I said, "Yes, Sherry, you all right out there?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Maybe she was on downers. I don't know.
Since the beginning of time, anytime you talk about Sherry Martel, you break that voice out, and it makes me happy every time.
Yeah. She was Mr. S. Bless her heart. I had a lot of time for Sherry.
In no hurry to get to the ring.
Well, and you know what? Why would you be? Realistically, you know you're not the last guy in. Take your time. Who's rushing?
Yeah. Probably Vince, probably Gorilla in the backstage says, "Listen, there's some big stars in the ring right now. Don't fuck it up. Just take your time." You're kind of like the one thing that doesn't add up here.
I mean, he looks like
what I
he's
appreciate too, and obviously it's evolved over time. But the guys come in and they just try to win the match.
Yeah.
Not running, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
High spots and this and that. We're just trying to win.
Yeah. You know, this really changed the landscape, I think, of battle royals, don't you?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. Battle royals were always like bleh.
I mean,
and even today, some of them are bleh. But this one was a hell of an idea. I guess it was Vince's. I don't. Who takes credit for this idea?
Pat Patterson. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. There you go. Another Canadian, right?
Hey,
with a great idea.
you know,
What we're doing.
the anticipation is the key, right, Matt? I mean, that's the difference between this and a traditional battle royal, because you don't know who's next. And then there's the countdown and the clock, and the fans are interested in who's next. It's always the anticipation of something new. That's what wrestling fans really like, right, Matt?
It's a genius idea. Sitting on the edge of your seat, who's next? You get the countdown. It seems obvious that somebody would have thought of this, you know?
Yes.
Until somebody does, this is great.
As far as Tony, as far as all-time gimmick matches, you know, I know on the JCP side, you know, what we love here on this program, most people consider War Games to be like the best gimmick match, more than like the scaffold matches or Texas Death or any of the other stuff. And I think on the WWF side of things, I know Hell in a Cell was a big deal and Elimination Chamber was a big deal, but the Royal Rumble is still the most successful, quote unquote, gimmick match, I guess, if you want to call it that. What's number two? Or do you think War Games is number one? Do you think Royal Rumble's number one? And if it is, what's two?
Well, I kind of think War Games is number one, and at least because of, from my perspective, from where I grew up, from what I did. I was on the first one, and that was old school. And I think we've had some very good incarnations of it in Blood and Guts, I think. And I know NXT and the WWE had some pretty good ones. I think they've always given you good ones. I think this is second in my, and you know what else I like? I like freaking Stadium Stampedes, guys.
Oh yeah. That's fun.
It's just,
that's the word to use to describe a Stadium Stampede. It's fun.
Yeah. Matt, were you in one of those?
I was not. I did the Anarchy in the Arena, which I guess was Stadium Stampede, but like in an arena.
Right. Yeah.
Guys, how cool is Bret Hart? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because I'm Canadian, is one of my all-time favorites. But even here in 90, before he was on his own, you know?
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Canada, Matt, I had a great time in Montreal. Didn't get to see the city as much, because you know how it is, right?
Of course.
Hotel, arena, hotel, airport, home.
You didn't mind the snow too much?
No, it was like 2 foot of freaking snow. I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen it in a long time. But it was, everybody I talked to here back here said, "Did you get to see the city? It's such a great city." I went, "No, I just saw the arena."
That's what it is.
Yeah. Look at the fans going crazy here in the front row.
Do they have the entrance music playing at this point?
Yes.
For the entrance?
Yes. Let's track it. I think they do. Well, for bad news, it's hard to tell. What a rib. Another Canadian.
Speaking of Canadians, yeah, Betty. He's the man that started Don Callis.
Oh,
that's right.
Shitheads.
We have him to blame.
That's right.
Nothing bad just gets in the grabs a hold.
What do you think of this this job you did on commentary with Jesse Ventura? I mean, were you happy with it afterwards? I mean, I know you have to feel a little bit of stress and pressure because it wasn't the original plan, but when it's done, are you relieved it's over, or are you proud of what you guys were able to do?
I was proud of it, and the reason I'm proud of it is because I really think as a play-by-play guy here, working with Jesse Ventura, you just got to kind of
hang on,
got to let him do his thing and just kind of put the brackets on it, if that makes any sense to you. I mean, listen, Jesse Ventura was tremendous in this era.
Oh yeah.
So just get out of his way. Just say.
Did you know who would be coming out next?
That's what I wanted to ask. Did you have notes like what was going?
Not that I remember. No. And I like it that way.
Yeah, that's fun.
Hey, Matt, even today, I very rarely know who's going to win. I mean, the announcers will meet with Tony, and he won't tell us who will win.
That kind of makes it fun that way. Like you could just react as a fan.
It's authentic,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
because if you'll recall, and I fucked this up as I do. Ruby wrestled Red Velvet recently. Was on Red Velvet's, and I thought Ruby was going over.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Red was going over.
That's right.
And there was a 1-2. I called it a 3, and it was a false finish.
They got you.
They got me because Ruby. I'm thinking Ruby's going to win it. Ruby with the cover. 1, 2, 3. I said, oh, she kicked out. It's like
at 2, you look down at your phone. It's a done deal.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on, and that's fine. Tony meets with
Holy smoke. Sorry. Did you see that?
Huge bump.
Was that Macho Man?
That was Dusty Rhodes throwing the Macho Man with a big back body drop all the way to the floor. Of course, we know they're going to collide at WrestleMania. And I'm curious, Tony, you said you didn't know who was coming out win or maybe who was going to win, but did you have an idea? I mean, clearly you knew like they both called each other out in their promos, but did you have like a rough idea of what the WrestleMania card was going to be so you could work that into your commentary?
Yeah, I did. I mean, we all knew it was be Hogan and Warrior.
Right.
And Dusty and the Macho Man. Dusty and the Macho Man were also wrestling in arenas too.
Yeah.
So I got to call them at the Boston Garden. One of my all-time memories of the Boston Garden, and I don't know why this is. It was that same day where I worked Madison Square Garden in the afternoon, the Boston Garden at night for Nesson. Dusty comes out the Boston Garden. And you know how Dusty would come out and climb the ropes, as a lot of people do now?
Yeah.
You know, he climbed the rope and on the second turnbuckle slipped and busted his ass, man. Just fell. And I'm thinking, that's fucking great.
It's tough to come back from that.
Yes. Yeah, ask Matt Seidel, right?
Yeah.
Was that weird for you to go from working so closely with Dusty and Crockett where he was like the big dog? I mean, he's calling the shots. It's sort of Jimmy and then Dusty. And sometimes even that would be debated, I suppose. And then you get here, and when Dusty's here, he's respectfully kind of just one of the boys. It's not the same. Was that a challenge for you?
It wasn't a challenge for me, no, but it was odd. Because I remember Dusty and I talked on the phone. He called me, and I was at home in Connecticut, and he said, I'm coming in. And I said, that's great. I'm happy. He said, yeah, so am I. I think it's going to be good. And I said, man, I look forward to seeing you again, because he and I were very close. And then he came in, and I've told this story. It's worth telling again. Bruce Pritchard tells me he's going to wear polka dots. And I went, yeah, bull fucking shit. He said, no, he's wearing polka dots. I'm serious. I said, there's no freaking way Dusty Rhodes is wearing polka dots. You guys are ribbing me. And they weren't. And he made it work, didn't he?
He sure did. I mean, this is my first introduction to Dusty, and I loved him. I love the character. I love the presentation. And I saw, your face, your reaction when we saw Sapphire come into the frame and start talking in the promo. I'm sure you've got some fun Sapphire memories.
She was so happy to be there, and such a bundle of nerves and fun backstage that she always made you smile, and that's what I remember about Sapphire. She was, I think she was legitimately a fan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Where did they find her?
She, as I understand it, she used to be one of the ladies who would pick guys up from the airport and take them to the gym and help do their laundry. And I mean, she was just a super fan.
Right.
Tony and I used to be really good friends with a lady named Peggy Lathan who did that in the Crockett territory. Unfortunately, Peggy passed away, but Miss Juanita Wright here, the real life Sapphire, as I understand it, was just a regular at all the shows and would just be there to try to hang out. I'm not saying in the fun way that guys like to talk about in wrestling. I'm saying hey, let me do your laundry and I'm going to go cook you supper. And do you need a ride to the airport? That sort of thing. And so she just became a regular part of, this traveling circus. And then somebody somewhere had the idea, let's put her with Dusty. And Dusty tells a story that she didn't cash a lot of the checks. She just kept them. They were souvenirs because it said WWF on it. And she was happy that it said it. And he's like, baby, you got to cash them fucking checks. As the story goes, said it just like that. And she's like, really? And it was apparently a pretty substantial amount of money for her and life-changing. And she got to live her dream as a wrestling fan on camera. It's a really cool story from
What
the
are the odds of that happening?
Right?
That's winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now here's a bad news Roddy angle.
Yep. So we know they're headed for WrestleMania.
And is WrestleMania where Roddy put on the half blackface?
Yes, it is.
Sure is.
Yes. All right. Yikes. So anyway, back to Sapphire. She was so thrilled about being part of this that
that's Shane McMahon on the left. You see that?
Yeah, he was a ref back in that year.
Wow, how about that?
Of course, the other is so it's Vince's son and Gorilla's son out there. Joey Morella running around the outside, but I think it's fun to see a young Shane McMahon on camera. Got to be one of his first times, maybe not but one of the first times on camera.
Yeah, that was cool. See, now I'm thinking here that I don't know, maybe just Andre is going to win it because I've seen Andre win so many battle royals in my day, and I know he's and I'm also thinking how's he going to take the bump over the rope?
Right.
And anybody hitting Terry Taylor is fine with me.
I was thinking of Terry as he was coming out there. He'll to this day still say, "Man, if I just committed to the gimmick, it could have, bigger than it was or whatever." And I'm thinking, I don't know, Terry.
Yeah,
you're a rooster.
You're a fucking rooster.
I think it has a ceiling.
Huh.
I mean, we say that, but we started this program sort of talking about Al Perez and what could have been with the Black Scorpion. So you can always reset, as a new friend of mine recently said. You can always reset.
Mm-hmm.
Man, look at Andre on his knees, almost as tall as Bill Eddie standing.
Yeah. Here comes somebody in. The fans are going crazy. Or
I think they're giving it to Heenan.
Oh yeah, they're giving it to Heenan. Why not?
Man, what an all-star cast. In the ring right now, we've got the $1 Million Man kicking and screaming. Dusty Rhodes is teaming with Bret Hart to try to get him out. In the corner, it's Demolition Axe and Andre the Giant. I mean, what a Hall of Fame crew, dude.
It's amazing. And also amazing how many people are no longer with us too,
Yeah.
Dusty's not around. Andre's not around. Obviously Heenan. Roddy Piper, of course, Macho Man Randy Savage. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We see this, Conrad.
Yeah.
About how many people have gone, and listen, Matt, you know better than I do. It's not an easy life taking all these bumps and
that's
your
for
body
sure.
through this. Yeah.
And I mean, we have it real good compared to these guys.
Yes, you do. Yeah. But you also have something that these guys didn't have. Conrad and I have talked about it many times. You have a medical staff that these guys didn't have. So,
yeah, they take care of us. Yes. Absolutely.
Here's a guy who could really win the thing if he wanted to. Ming, and he could probably beat up everybody in the arena as well if he wanted to.
We were talking about Dusty's polka dots before.
Yeah.
I think towards the end of the WWF run, he ditches the polka dot. I wonder, like what was that conversation where they're just like, all right, we had our fun.
I was gone by then, so I don't know.
I thought the red ones looked cool. I mean, the yellow ones stand out for sure. And I know they were looking for color, and you can see like the yellow in the ring really stands out amongst all the other costuming. And boy,
did he have red polka dots? I thought he just stitched them all together.
It was yellow and then red. And then you're right. At the very end, it was just black trunks with the DR and these boots. But, I don't know if you saw, but they just did a spot on the ropes there with the former Mass Superstar, the real life Bill Eadie, the current Demolition Axe, obviously a great friend of Andre's. And as Andre is trying to step off the ropes, he accidentally just, oh, sorry, I stood on your wrist there, Bill. Can you imagine Andre the Giant just accidentally stepping on your wrist? Well, I'm out for 6 months.
Another thing about Dusty Rhodes' polka dots, I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what anybody says in that era. That was just to make fun of Dusty.
You think so, huh?
Yeah. It ended up working. Okay. But yeah, Dusty being the booker at Jim Crockett Promotions, NWA, I mean, the center point of that promotion, of course it was. Of course it was.
I'm not arguing any of that was maybe the thinking, but Dusty did wear polka dots before the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's magazine photos out there from the 70s of him wearing polka dots.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting, but still.
Yeah. I mean, in this era, think about what they did to Jake the Snake. He used to wear pull-on boots and karate pants. Now they got him wearing neon with snakeskin boots with lifts in them, and he's carrying a snake to the ring, and he's deathly afraid of snakes.
That was a major upgrade, though, for Jake.
Yes.
You're asking me.
Yes.
I remember Jake the Snake from the Mid-Atlantic days. the late Mid-Atlantic days, where Jake the Snake wore a cowboy hat, and he and Barry Windham were Jake the Snake and Blackjack Mulligan Jr.
Yes.
Tag team, both with cowboy hats. So, I mean, that's really early Jake the Snake. We should probably watch one of those. I know I know they got it on the network. That early stuff.
I'm for it.
Yeah, from the old studios at WRAL TV in Raleigh, North Carolina, and then it would move to Charlotte back then.
By the way, we know at WrestleMania 6, it's going to be the Colossal Connection, Haku and Andre taking on Demolition. They're all four in the ring now, along with Dusty, the $1 Million Man, and Bret Hart. Still, this all-star roster continues. And who would have thought, at the time as a fan, but the guys knew, hey, if there's one guy in the ring right now you don't want to mess with, I think fans would all say, oh, it's probably Andre. It's Haku by a mile. My goodness.
Sorry, I got to put a dog on my lap because if I don't, she'll probably end up peeing on the floor.
When was the last time?
What a pop, though, to the WrestleMania 6 tag title match.
Oh, yeah.
The finish, incredible.
That's a lot of people don't think about this, but I'm a belt collector, so I'm a nerd. That tag title, that's one of the only, or not one of, it is the only WWF title Andre ever held. I know briefly he had, in the main event, the world title over his shoulder, and then he awarded it to the $1 Million Man. But besides that little handoff of a thing that they use as an angle to reset, that tag title is actually his only belt. And I think one of the times they switched it was here in Huntsville, of all places, Huntsville, really? Alabama, Andre the Giant with a tag title.
I could never track, as a kid, where they won the belt.
Right.
Haku and Andre. Was it on a live event or something?
Yeah, here in Huntsville.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy though? Of all the things to hear that, Andre's this iconic character in WWE lore, just all of wrestling history. And his most high profile title belt was the tag title, and he won it in freaking Huntsville, Alabama. What? It's crazy.
Yeah. How about that?
There he goes.
Wow.
It makes sense, I guess, if you're going to be working with him at WrestleMania, Demolition's the team to eliminate Andre the Giant.
Here we go. I smell what's happening here.
I just like how the fans are reacting to all this.
Yes.
Andre he just reached up and cracked, was it Edie?
Yes.
In the head. That was tremendous.
You can't tell me they weren't having fun with the American Dream and the African Dream, Akeem. I mean, a total rib on Dusty. Dusty is wrestling his own rib here.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up as it's coming out. Speaking of ribs.
Yeah. And what's funny about this too, is when you really think about it, outside of the ring, since the very start of the match, another rib on Dusty, Virgil. I mean, it's polka dots, it's Virgil, it's the African Dream.
Right.
Boy, Dusty Rhodes had Vincent Kennedy McMahon shook.
Poor Mike Bozo in a way. He gets a rib game in WWF, and then he gets it back at WCW, right?
Yes.
Naming him Vincent.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls, let's take one last time out. I'm here to talk to you about AG1. And if you're a longtime listener, you know that I've been taking AG1 for about 3.5 years now. And I started doing it at the start of the pandemic, but my wife had been on this train for a long time because she knew that she needed a foundational nutritional supplement that's going to support your body's universal needs, like gut optimization and stress management and even immune support. They've been around since 2010, and they're continuously refining their formula to just get better and better and better, hoping that you get to feeling better and better and better. Not only did I replace my multivitamin with AG1, but I also love that every scoop includes prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes for gut support. But maybe the best part is the B vitamins for energy. That's what I'm looking for. My wife tells me that she has more energy at the gym, and I know that I don't have that afternoon crash. And I give a lot of that credit to the B vitamins that are in my AG1. By the way, the vitamin C and the zinc will also help support your immune system. This is good for everybody. And I can tell you that I don't feel that afternoon crash since I started using it. And I can't wait to hear what your experience has been. What I know you'll find for sure, though, is that it's the real deal. That's the reason I'm recommending it to all of my friends and family, because I know it's been tested for 950 contaminants. I know that it's NSF certified for sport, and I know that this formula is based on the latest science. AG1 is the supplement I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why they've been a partner for so long. If you were to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/WHW. That's drinkag1.com/WHW. Check it out.
Yeah.
It's to be taken seriously.
I know.
Hey, here comes another guy who's no longer with us. Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I did a quick count of the 30 men in this match, and unfortunately, 13 of them no longer with us.
Yikes. Almost half.
Do we know how old Snook is here? Because he's jacked.
That's a great question. Let's take a look at that. I think he had a little help, though, if I had to guess.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
I ain't mad at it. Let's see.
Put it to work.
He was born in 43.
Holy shit. 43.
Anybody got a calculator?
Yeah, that would be 47.
Yeah, well, he turned 47 that year. He's 46 in the match, I think.
Okay.
But still, he looks phenomenal. And there I go. I mean, there goes Akeem. Dumped out of the ring. Hey, Snuka, listen, I know that he's a different conversation these days. When did you first hear about that story, Tony?
About
Snuka killing his girlfriend.
The
murder.
Oh, the murder.
murder.
I can't remember when I heard about it.
But I mean, did you know it here? Like
No,
at this
not
point?
at all.
Okay.
Because he was brought back to the WWE when I was there.
Yes.
I think he was brought back in 89.
Yes.
And I remember when he was brought back at a meeting, Vince says, we are going to bring back a man who's arguably one of the biggest baby faces this company's ever had.
Yeah.
And he said Jimmy Snuka, and all of a sudden I got it because I remember Snuka wrestling for the Crockett's and was a big baby face for the Crockett's back then too. And that's all I knew. I didn't know anything about his past or, and really didn't give a shit.
Did you spend any time with him in real life?
No, not at all.
It's been said over the years that he couldn't read. And if he went to a restaurant, he would just order based off the pictures, or he would let someone else order and then just say, I'll have what he's having, sort of thing. And I'd hate to think that's true, because I'm not saying this to be funny, but you got to assume if he couldn't read, wrestling promoters took advantage of him.
Yeah. Had I heard that, I would have asked around. I mean, a guy who had great insight and great stories about all the guys was Lord Alfred Hayes. It seemed like Lord Alfred knew everything. Lord Alfred, I don't know if I've told this story or not, but it's worth telling. I'm going to try to get it right. He told me about the $1 million cookie. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. He said it was King Curtis at it. And it was this hard, just like a square, maybe like a rectangle, about that thick. And it was hard, and they kept it in Alfred said they kept it like a sock. And he said, only thing they would do, they would pass it around. He said the Samoans had it, and they would pass around and you would lick it. Okay. And it was drugs, right? And Alfred said, they told me one day, I can't tell the story the way Alfred told it because he was great. He said, they told me one day, he said, after the match, he said, well, I want you to have the $1 million cookie. And he said, what is that? He said, so they unwrapped it and I just took one lick. He said, I went home that night and I couldn't believe it. He said, I got up in the middle of the night and I sat on the edge of the bed and my wife says, Alfred, what's wrong? He said, there's a frog. There's a frog. It is right in the middle of the bedroom. Can't you see it? And she said, no, I can't. He said, I swear it's a frog. He said, I sat up all night staring at that fucking frog. And he said, so I would never take that $1 million cookie again. So when I think about King Curtis and I think about Snook and I think about all those guys, I think about the $1 million cookie. Have you ever heard of that story?
No.
Of the $1 million cookie?
No.
Did you ever get to the bottom of it? What is it?
We need to find out what it was. Apparently it was like hallucinogens,
It's
right?
got to be acid or something, right?
Yeah, just one lick. And I stayed up all night looking at the frog in my bedroom, staring at me.
I don't know about that. I think I'm gonna pass on that.
Well, I passed on the frog?
Yeah, I don't want any hallucinogens.
No, I don't want a frog.
Yeah,
no.
good.
There goes Dusty. Took a nice leisurely bump outside.
Here's another observation. The guys are huge.
Yes.
Every guy is just massive.
Yes.
Right.
Just men.
Yeah, well, that's what Vince liked, right? I mean, he liked big guys. Here's a massive man. Wow. Earthquake.
I feel like he's gotten his flowers in the internet wrestling community, really just in like the last 10 or 15 years. Did you think he was a special talent? I mean, you saw what he did with Hogan and what an athlete he was and his background and just what a badass he was, Tony. But did you think, he was one of the more underrated performers? Because it doesn't seem like you did much with him at all in WCW.
No, we didn't. I really remember him more in WCW. So I didn't have a good read on how good of an athlete he was or whatever, but
maybe somebody could let us know, but I'm pretty sure Earthquake here's like 26 years old.
Yeah. He's really young. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to think how, I don't know what's happening, I don't know if it's drugs and alcohol or smoking cigarettes or what, but Lord, it feels like guys aged a lot faster back then.
It is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of cigarette smoking back then.
That had to be a big part of it. Because you take a look at old photos and you'll see a guy and they say, he's 35. And you're like, he's every bit of 50. There's no chance he's 35.
And it's across the board. It's not just wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was looking at, we were at the Bell Center in Montreal last week, and I was looking at the teams from the past. They had the teams' photos up. And like 91, 92, 93, everybody looks 50.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, smoking will age you, but also for wrestling back then, it's kind of what you talked about earlier, Matt. It's like these guys worked every day.
Yes.
These guys traveled and these guys drank and smoked and did drugs or whatever they did. And it wears and tears on the body and it shows.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Magic cookies will age you.
Magic cookies will put a frog in your bedroom.
There goes Earthquake.
Oh, I just thought one of the other, I don't know why it hit me just now, but one of the other agents who did pre-tapes in the backstage was George the Animal Steel, believe it or not. Yeah, he was one of them.
How was he? I've heard he was a quote unquote pain in the ass.
Not to me, but to me, he was a very intelligent man. And he liked to show his intelligence because he was very, very smart.
He's one of those. He can read books.
Yes, he reads books.
That is the wrestling barometer. He reads books, not just magazines.
Books. And not these romantic novels. I mean, books.
Have you heard?
A school teacher, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Have you heard the bad joke that Bruce and others would tell about George the Animal Steel? Tony?
No, maybe have you told? I don't
about going across the border.
No.
So, they used to do a lot of shows in Canada, of course. And this is, pre cell phones and pagers and all that sort of thing before it was super common. And, listen to that crowd,
here we
man.
go.
Look
Here
at the
he comes,
reaction.
the Warrior.
Dude.
He's going right after Bravo.
Chopping Bravo. Shooting Bravo in. Oh, Bravo caught him. I don't think it phased him.
It phased him.
Yeah, that one did.
And the Warriors eliminated Bravo.
You knew that was going to get a big pop, big reaction. The fans go wild for the Ultimate Warrior. And as Bruce says, then the bell rang. But man, we're excited he's here. So yeah, as the story goes, and this is not nice and not polite, but I guess
I love not nice and polite.
Somewhere along the way, George the Animal Steel had some digestive trouble and
Diarrhea?
Wound up with a colostomy bag.
Okay.
And fast forward, everybody in the business or in the company knows that. And pre-cell phone, pre-pager, before it's really commonplace for everybody to have that sort of communication, it became the old, telephone, telegram, tele-wrestler whisper campaign. Hey man, did you hear about George? What? Yeah, the animal got arrested. What? Yeah, he's in custody right now. For what? Trying to smuggle shit into Canada. It's not nice. It's not polite.
Not polite and fucking corny.
Yes. Hey, so speaking of not polite and not nice, you got to tell us your Blackjack Lanza story. I mean, you teed it up earlier. We let you walk it back a little bit, but we're amongst friends.
Yeah. What are we doing here, Tony?
No, I'm not telling this story.
Come on.
Okay. But hey, we are next year. We're going to be back in Canada a lot. Matt, have you seen the list of towns?
Oh yeah, it's wild. Can't wait for them to take 20% of our pay. 2 months in a row, like I think all March and April.
Yeah, no, we're going to. Tell me about London, Ontario.
I don't know much about London, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay. I didn't even know there was a London
right next to Toronto.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a London, Ontario. I went, wow.
What do we got? I'm excited to get to Quebec City. That'll be great.
Okay, that's good.
That's a town that kind of always gets ignored a little bit by touring acts. So to hit there will be awesome.
Yeah, so that'll be good. And of course, out west, I just loved being in Calgary last year. That was so cool. So I'm glad we're going back.
We're doing it with the Stampede again, I think. Eh?
Yeah, we are. That was so cool.
Matt, I'm asking because I'm curious. I don't want specifics, but I'm trying to learn here. When you wrestle in Canada, Canada keeps 20% of your income?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Like of the date, right? Like you have your salary divided by the amount of dates, and whatever that number is, they'll take 20%, I believe, of that.
Wow.
At least for the wrestlers. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, it's for the wrestlers. It's not for office personnel or anything like that.
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, and like if you get left off the shows, if you don't make that trip, you don't pay the tax. So it's like you're getting rewarded for not working.
Boy, that's fucked up.
Hey, maybe that's why when we were in Montreal recently, so many people called in sick.
Bingo. That's exactly what it is.
Because they did.
Yep.
A lot of people said, I'm sick. I can't work Montreal. Okay. Wow.
That's exactly what it is. I promise.
Jeez.
Learn something new every day here on What Happened When.
I think it's the same story for England too.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, what a crew we've got. We've got Rick the Model Martel, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, Haku, Jimmy Snuka, the Ultimate Warrior, the $1 Million Man, and here comes Tito Santana.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience like with Tito, Tony? It feels like one of the more universally well-liked guys in all of the industry.
Yeah, he was really a cool guy backstage. He didn't really talk that much nor make that much. It seemed like to me, he always appreciated where he was in the industry.
I got a funny little Tito story.
Oh, yeah. Good.
So I'm working for Chikara. Mike Quackenbush is the promoter and brings Tito in for a show. And he goes, okay, so Tito, we're thinking like maybe for the finish, you could do the flying forearm. And Tito thinks about it. He's like, maybe schoolboy. He didn't want to do it.
He didn't want to do his flying forearm?
Like as if the schoolboy was the equivalent to his finishing move.
Yes. How would you not want to do your finish?
I didn't want to.
Maybe because we called it the flying burrito and he thought maybe that was racist. I don't know. Didn't we call it that, the flying burrito?
Yeah.
Jesse certainly did.
Yes. And then it was adopted everywhere. You know, we see, obviously these guys were Strike Force. They had their big breakup. We've got Rick the Model Martel and Tito Santana mixing it up here inside the ring if you're just listening and you're not watching. And it's interesting to think, just a few years prior to this, Martel was the AWA World Champion. And now he's working the model gimmick. But man, I didn't grow up watching the AWA, but I did grow up watching this. So when I think of Martel, I don't think of his AWA run. I think of the model. Where are you at on that?
Same, absolutely same. What's funny though is I must have been 1 or 2 years old. I had a little Rick Martel AWA action figure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But same, it's all about the model, and he nailed that gimmick
perfectly.
Like,
I mean, it's
like
so,
to me, this is who he is.
Yes. Speaking of iconic characters, here comes the Honky Tonk Man. He had white hot heat. This crowd and apparently the office staff hated his guts.
Yes, sir. And I know another one hated his guts too, by the name of Eric Bischoff.
Well, that's right.
Yeah, very well documented.
The buzz in the industry was about what the company's going to look like when they take the belt off of Hogan, because really they haven't done that with the exception of Savage. But when they put it on him after he beat the Sheik, the only time we really saw anything different up to this point was the feud with Andre the Giant, the $1 Million Man. They do a tournament. He doesn't actually lose the title, but Savage is going to be the new champ. And a year later he beats Savage, but that's because he was doing the movie. So he's sort of been the torchbearer for the company, but we know Vince and wrestling promoters are always looking for what's new and what's next. And a huge reaction for the Ultimate Warrior finally eliminating the $1 Million Man, who came in at number 1.
Wow.
Do you remember there being buzz or concern amongst the talent or the office staff or in the company about, hey, we can't take it off of Hogan? Like,
and was it like a foregone conclusion that Warrior was going to win that match?
Yeah. Fair question.
No, not to me. I had no idea who was going to go over in that match. I remember us having a meeting with the people of Coliseum Video in Vince's office in his boardroom there. And the people of Coliseum Video always wanted to know what was going on, what was going to happen. And this was way before we even announced this match. They said, well, Vince, what do you got for WrestleMania? What's going to be the big thing for WrestleMania? And Vince says, well, we have something that we think is going to be make it the biggest WrestleMania ever. And that's all he would say. And I didn't even know it was going to be Ultimate Warrior and Hogan until later. So I didn't know Warrior was going over. So I don't know if they did backstage. I'm sure they did backstage, you know.
I saw the same thing you did, Matt. He's just walking right through when Hogan.
Yeah, not a care in the world.
Yeah.
Well, he's Hulk Hogan, right?
Well, he meant Warrior. Warrior was just not paying attention to what's going on around him. And Hogan, who always comes in the ring and tears the bandana off and then rips the t-shirt, hasn't even done that yet. Very seldom did we see all this action with him in his full entrance gear, but I think we're setting up the moment. There we go. There goes the bandana.
The crowd is, you could see they're buzzing here.
It's really funny to think about it, watching this back as an adult, because as a kid, like every fan in that crowd, their dream was to, when Hulk tears that shirt off and throws it in the crowd, oh, if you could just get that shirt. And now as an adult, you're like, it's a ripped t-shirt. What the fuck would I have done with it? But you really wanted it.
Sweaty ripped shirt.
Yes.
There he goes. He just ripped it. And the reason he just ripped it is it's just going to be he and Warrior here in a second.
Yes. And when that happens, you can just feel the electricity.
I'm getting excited just watching it.
Down to 4, we got Hogan working over Honky. We got Rick the Model Martel battling it out with Warrior. And we know we're on a collision course of sorts. And the big standoff is what people still remember. Man, I was pumped watching this live.
Oh, yeah. And they take their time with it too, eh?
Yes.
Like when it gets down to just them two, let it breathe, let them figure it out.
By the way, we've still got 5 other participants still to come. Shawn Michaels, the Barbarian, Rick Rude, Hercules, and Mr. Perfect. Ted DiBiase has already set the longevity record. He lasted 44 minutes and 47 seconds. That's a record at this point in Royal Rumble history. Here comes Shawn Michaels. Who would have thought
Looks great.
At this point he was going to be what he is and what he became. And there goes Honky Tonk Man.
Not a moment too soon.
Let's
see you, Shawn.
Sean is in and out. Let's track it, Silva.
Not getting paid by the hour.
Eliminated by the Warrior, and look at this! Look at this!
My God.
Hulk Hogan and the Warrior!
There is not a person sitting down. Everyone on his feet. Look at the eyes of the Hulkster. The eyes of the Warrior.
Whoa! What a matchup this is gonna be! The Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan, 1-on-1!
Hold on to your seats. This place is going to explode.
Whoa! Nobody moves! Again!
Oh my God.
Nobody moves!
Look at this.
Crisscross!
not much sillier than a crisscross, right?
He missed a clothesline.
It's goddamn ridiculous.
And they clotheslined each other.
I was going to ask, like, I'm not a wrestler. I don't pretend to know fuck all about wrestling, but if I'm about to get into a real fight, am I randomly going to break into a crisscross? Like, logically, that's hard to imagine.
What are we trying to accomplish?
Yes.
That's great drama, though.
I can't lie, as silly as it is. By the way, this is a Pat Patterson special. We've all heard as he would lay out matches to some of the performers. He loved what he called the double down, and that's what we're seeing now. And he would allegedly coach performers up and say, and you just lay there like a piece of shit. And then when you think that you need to get up, you just lay there. And then when the crowd starts to get restless, you still lay there like a piece of shit. And he just drags it out. And that's what you see the guys are doing, because here comes the Barbarian. And man, what a singles run he could have had. I know he would get some title shots in WCW, but he looks like he's right out of central casting from, you know, Conan the Destroyer or whatever. Yeah. Like, he would have been a prime singles opponent for a big run with Hogan, but it never happened.
Sometimes I go back, you'll watch the old Nitros, right? And Nitro famously, I think, would just have very random matches.
Yes.
And Barbarian being one of those guys who are in these matches. And he was working for Stars in like 98.
Yes.
Like, it's crazy. Going to the top, taking all sorts of stuff.
Rick Rude slides in early. One of the arch nemesis of the Ultimate Warrior. We know their history for the Intercontinental Champion. And so it's Barbarian and Hogan, and then Rude and Warrior.
Yeah. I was saying, look at those working punches by Rude, but I'm not so sure they were working punches. He could throw them,
Did he hate working with Warrior?
Yeah.
Is that the thing?
Yeah. So he's probably laying them in. See over there, he's probably laying them in.
It's kind of cool foreshadowing, because it tells you the company at least knew where they were going, because we know that one of the first big feuds that Warrior's going to have once he is crown champion is with Rude. I mean, they're going to main event SummerSlam later this year. So having the placement of him come in here and immediately start working with the Warrior, there was some foresight into that from Pat or whoever put together this Rumble.
I don't know how you guys feels, but for me as a kid, like, once Rude cut the hair, it was over for me.
I liked it.
Huh. You liked the short hair?
I liked it. I thought it was a new hardened edge. I took him more seriously with the shorter hair.
That's a fair point. I could see that. It's just a different guy to me. I don't know.
I'm not going to compare it to Stone Cold, but like Steve Austin with hair and then Steve Austin bald, it feels like, hey, this is a new character now.
Oh, yeah, no question.
And I felt that sort of the same way about Rude a little bit.
Well, Steve Austin, before he went bald, he had kind of shitty hair, you know?
It was going.
I think Hulk Hogan would have loved to have had Steve Austin's shitty hair.
Hey, Matt, did you ever, speaking of Pat Patterson, you have any dealings with Pat at all?
No, never. I mean, like, when I would extra in WWF, he would be around here and there.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, not at all.
Oh.
I just remember when he passed, I was at NXT.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon of that day, everybody gathered around the ring and we watched the boot camp match, him and Slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
But like, just the boys, Road Dogg, Hunter, everybody, management too. Yeah. And it was a nice little moment.
Wow. One of the greats, actually, on many levels. Wow, Hercules, and no one really popped for that at all.
Well, at this point, it's the Hulk Hogan show, you know?
Of course it is. That's what I'm getting to. They can bring in anybody right now, okay? The big pop is here.
Yeah.
Hogan's there, Warrior's there.
Yeah, it's almost like the match ended after that double clothesline.
Right.
I know this probably doesn't make any sense at all, Tony, but for whatever reason, I've always just associated Hercules Hernandez. It's like, this guy looks like Lyle Alzado to me.
He does.
Okay. Like, every time I see him, I'm like, if Lyle Alzado was a wrestler, he's Hercules Hernandez.
Well, to me, he'll always be assassin number 2.
You guys had some silly gimmicks with him and Harley Race, and he spent so much time in WCW and JCP, but I'll always remember him as the big guy with the chain here. And as silly as it is, like, it's another one of those gimmicks. I mean, think about it. We used to have bulldogs come into the ring and snakes coming to the ring, and a guitar come into the ring, a guy swinging a chain, a guy with a 2x4, a guy wearing a crown. Like, these are over the top characters that I understand people would have some pushback on if you just wanted to come out and wear your black stuff and be a badass, but everybody got something, which is why I could buy into the fact that maybe the polka dots weren't just a rib on Dusty. But when you take a look and you see, well, he's wrestling Akeem the African Dream and Virgil's on the outside of the ring, it's like, okay, there was a lot of ribbing going on, but I don't know.
But if you're telling me that he wore polka dots previously,
yeah,
Listen, gold dust, stardust, polka dots. Let's shit on the whole family. You're not fooling me. And yes, Dustin made gold dust work.
Yeah.
Oh, did he ever?
Yeah.
To me, that character kind of ushers in the
Attitude Era. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first real edgy thing like that.
Yeah, you got Goldust and maybe Sonny a little bit.
What did you think of the Goldust character when you first heard about it, Tony? Because you had spent all this time with the natural Dustin Rhodes over in WCW, but I'm just curious, like when you first hear that he's doing this crazy character, what's your gut reaction to that?
What do you think it is? It's like, there they go again.
Like burying the family.
Yes. And then I saw them appear on, it was one of the talk shows, he and Marlena.
Probably like Regis and Kathy Lee or something like that.
No, it was one of the late night talk shows.
Okay. Conan, maybe.
It was on Conan.
Yeah.
And they walked down and he said to Conan, "Is that a microphone in your pocket or are you just happy to see me?" or something like that. And I popped big time thinking, wow, they may shit on the Rhodes family, but damn it, they're still making it work.
Did you think that character would work in the WWF?
Oh yeah. Of course I did.
Man.
Do you know if they got any flack or pushback from sponsors?
Well, I'm sure there was a little bit. I mean,
Must have been.
Fans
would have been a lot more today than back then.
I think today it would be okay. I think back then,
really?
because
He'd be a big baby face.
Yes, it'd be a big baby face now, but the fans were chanting things that you should just not say back then.
Right.
Speaking of things you shouldn't say, I can't believe this is real, that we've got two of the all-time greatest heels in the ring with Hulk Hogan here, and neither one are with us. Mr. Perfect and Ravishing Rick Rude, two iconic characters in the WWF, two badass heels, and two guys who never won the big one. And I know this is a quote unquote babyface territory. And I know Kurt did win the AWA world title. And I know technically Rick Rude had the big gold belt, but it wasn't really the WCW title. Like, those are arguably two of the best to never actually hold a WWF world title.
And two best friends too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Minnesota boys, eh?
Yeah. They, I went to Rude's funeral and Kurt Hennig gave the eulogy. It was really good. It was really entertaining, really funny, really poignant.
At this point, it's worth mentioning Mr. Perfect is undefeated in the WWF. He drew the perfect number here, coming in at number 30. It's down to Hulk Hogan and Mr. Perfect. He's going to suffer his first loss at WrestleMania to Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake. But man, in hindsight, we know that Vince did not achieve his goal of having the biggest WrestleMania ever. WrestleMania 5 was the biggest WrestleMania ever. And I'm sure he thought, hey, well, these were best friends who are now wrestling each other, Hulk Hogan and the Macho Man. Maybe we'll just go back with two big baby faces and really blow it up and run a dome and have the biggest and the first international one. And all that makes sense, but it didn't work that well. And so he doesn't try it for several years. And I can't help but wonder, what if they had gone into, cause if you're watching what we're watching right now with Mr. Perfect and Hulk Hogan, I mean, technically, if we would have added the stakes like we talked about at the top of the show, Matt, where the winner gets a title shot, this could have been the WrestleMania main event. I would have been fine with Mr. Perfect and Hulk Hogan.
See, I felt like at this level, I would have never taken Mr. Perfect as a legitimate threat to Hogan.
Even undefeated.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a size difference or just my little kid brain. I would have never bought it. I would have never felt like he was in jeopardy.
There it is. There's the big pop. Let's listen.
This picture's on all the magazine, huh?
So you see Hogan grabs the bed sheet from the front row. That is still hanging in his beach shop in Orlando. So if you get a chance to go to his beach shop, you can see that sign that he took from the front row, that big sheet, and held it up to the crowd. And I guess he eventually found that guy, or that guy came to visit, and now it's in Hogan's possession. But you're right, Matt. That shot has been everywhere. Hulkamania will live forever. Like, I feel like they use that in packages till the end of time.
That's what WWF and WWE is so good at. Just reminding you of what happened. And
yes,
you never forget.
So as a fan back here, Matt, how important was it for you to watch the posing and all the post-match stuff?
Yeah,
this was a big deal, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a vivid memory of like that song to me, the show is over.
Yes.
Right.
And like kind of being bummed. I'm playing my little wrestlers and I'm like, are mom and dad going to let me watch it again? You know?
Yeah, it was such a big deal, the silly posing at the end. I mean, now as an adult, I can say, yeah, let's beat the traffic. What the hell? But I remember as a little kid, when we would get these pay-per-views or whatever at my house, like my sister would like start imitating. She wasn't a huge wrestling fan, but she just thought it was funny. And so she'd start imitating all the poses and stuff. And all the adults just ate it up and thought it was hilarious that the little kid is doing the silly Hulk Hogan posing. But man, it worked. You know, Bruce used to say,
and it is silly.
Yes.
But I didn't think it was silly as a child. It's just what he did.
Yes. But it worked. I mean, look, nobody's heading for the aisles. They're all sitting there.
Exactly.
It's what they paid for.
Yes. As Bruce used to say, Hogan must pose. Like that was the Vince formula of we close every show. It's funny that you said that, Matt, too, because it was almost Pavlovian for you. This song means it's the end of the show.
That's it.
And
we closed our TV tapings with it too, Conrad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could keep the fans there for a marathon day if you keep teasing. Don't forget our main event, Hulk Hogan. So even after you've been, 4 hours into a TV taping and the crowd's dead, they hear that song and man, everybody's on their feet. And there's the big plug. Look at there. WrestleMania 6 right around the corner. The next big pay-per-view. And of course the match hasn't been announced yet here, but was there any, I know they've obviously done it again, but do you remember there being any logistical issues with this being an international WrestleMania, Tony?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Hulk Hogan, a great sweater. Yes. Always looked like he had been through a war.
Yeah, he worked on that. He oiled up big time, buddy.
Yeah, that tan was something else. I mean,
yes, it was.
Nobody will ever be as tan as Hulk Hogan was in 1990 and 1991. Well, man, I don't know what I expected today, but that sure was fun. I know the next Royal Rumble in real life is right around the corner, coming up a month from now, but man, I just think about how much fun I had watching the old Royal Rumbles. And I don't know that we would have sat down and watched this one today had you not suggested it, Matt. So thanks for joining the program and helping us celebrate 40 years of Tony Schiavone and picking Royal Rumble 1990 for us.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a blast. Tony, I love you. Congratulations on 40 years. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah, Matt, you're one of the best, buddy. And we're a better company with you. And who's your partner's name again?
It escapes me.
Yeah.
Angela Parker.
No, we're a better company with you guys in it. You're really great.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And Tony, unfortunately, it looks like it's about that time.
Ladies and gentlemen, in our tag team main event this week, we have Matt Mernard and Cool and Ange against the Fat Boys, Conrad Thompson and Dave Silva. And now they're positioning Dave Silva. He's down. They're just a taste. On all fours is Parker. And here comes Mernard off with the elbow. Oh, right on the gut of Dave Silva. And I didn't know Dave Silva was wearing polka dot trunks. No, wait a minute. Those are brown spots. Dave Silva just shit his pants. Just a taste. Are you kidding me? We are out of time. The tape machine's rolling. We'll see you next week on What Happened When. We come to you Wednesdays on Westwood One, but Mondays we come to you ad-free and only on
Patreon. Patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com.
On hood.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.